What's up, guys? A couple things with the podcast this week. Emery's internet just cut out right at the very end. Well, not right at the very end, pretty much mid conversation. And he wasn't able to get back on. It was already late last night. So it's going to end rather abruptly. Another thing we didn't have a chance to talk about or we kind of missed is the Celtics have a couple guys they signed to kind of preseason deals, like non-guaranteed deals. It looks like probably only one of Jabari Parker, Luke Cornett, and they recently signed 24-year-old Jawan Morgan to a non-guaranteed deal. And probably one of those three are going to be fighting for that 15th roster spot. I believe now with those two guys getting signed, I believe we now have 18. I think we can't have more than 16 on our roster to start the year. So it'll be interesting to see. I think obviously Jabari is the leader in the clubhouse just because of what he brings offensively. But maybe Juwan Morgan showed something that he hasn't shown yet at the NBA level. Last year, I believe he spent in the G League. I know he wasn't in the NBA, or at least he didn't have NBA statistics. So I assumed he was in the G League. But he's a young 24-year-old power forward. Once again, they're trying to find a lot of guys to fill that need of just a playable forward to play alongside Jason and Jalen when they want to go kind of bigger. So we'll see who winds up winning that battle. But right after this, I'm going to play the ad, and then we'll do our intro music, and we'll get right into the pod. And once again, thank you guys for listening. And I'll have a song playing for those of you listening on the podcast at the very end.
Welcome back to another episode of Mainly Celtics podcast. We're having a little technical Kobe difficulties here. Matt Money's chasing a dog around the room. Say what up, Kobe.
Nah, he's hiding behind the chair. He's chilling, but he's trying to find a nice place to go to bed. But he'll be fine.
Yeah, he's gonna fall asleep. Slow basketball week this week, Maddie. Slow basketball week. We did have the.
It's been a lot of slow basketball week.
It has been, yeah. We had the NBA and the MLB Hall of Fame induction ceremonies this week. However, Celtics great, and probably our top one or two favorite Celtics players of all time. Paul Pierce inducted this week, along with Chris Bosh, Ben Wallace, Chris Webber as players, Coach Rick Adelman, and Bill Russell as a coach. And then they also inducted Jay Wright, Villanova head coach, WNBA player and great Yolanda Griffith, and three-time WNBA MVP Lauren Jackson as the players that rounded out the group. There were a couple other contributors joined, but I don't think we really need to get into that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, not like obviously the biggest names of lists of players that jump out to you in the Basketball of Fame, especially coming off the last year where we had Tim Duncan, Kobe, and Kevin Garnett. Yeah. But all the same, like obviously Paul Pierce has a lot of importance to us, and even Ben Wallace was, I believe, a former Celtic in the preseason or maybe just the training camp. But I think it was the Rick Pitino era, and I'm pretty sure they had him legitimately playing like small forward, like just completely, like because he was undrafted. He's the first undrafted player to ever make it in.
That's a big success.
Obviously, one of the greatest defenders of all time, and one of the greatest defensive centers of all time. But yeah. I'm pretty sure when the Celtics were trying him out, they literally were trying him out and like playing him on the perimeter, which clearly isn't his forte. But yeah, Paul Pierce, multi-time All-NBA, multi-time All-Star, final NBA champion and Finals MVP. So that was obviously the big one, especially for Celtics fans. And Bill Russell, of course. And there's Mike Gorman. He was a recipient of the Kurt Gowdy Award, which is they give it once a year to like a media member that impacts basketball. So it's pretty prestigious award, and it's good to see Mike Gorman getting it. Obviously, Mike Gorman is the top of the top. We all love Mike Gorman, and it's good to see him getting recognized by the national media and having a chance to be up there in induction weekend.
That is cool. I mean, Mike Gorman has been
But
just a huge part of the whole Celtics atmosphere and the Celtics culture, and it's good to see him get recognized as a prominent member of the media and an impactful legacy he's leaving in basketball. I know, speaking on Gorman, I know that there had been thoughts he was away from a few games last year, and it was super evident when we had the young kid, I can't remember his name, and then Scal called a couple games.
Sean Grande?
Yeah.
I believe it was it wasn't always Grande. There's another guy that wasn't as good, but Sean Grande did a couple of them. He's a typical radio guy, but I do know what you're saying. There was a guy that was, I don't think has the experience of Grande, or I don't think he's been a play-by-play guy very much, and he filled in a couple times. It was pretty evident when he filled in, as opposed to Grande and of course Gorman.
Right. Is Gorman, like, is he trying to retire? Like, I don't know the situation. Do you?
I think he's going to be retiring very soon. I can't imagine he does it for very many more years. I think he's going to want to do it, but at the same time, I think that he might like slowly start to fade off. Maybe just kind of take more and more nights off. Maybe I haven't heard anything. I'm assuming he's coming back this year. I'm assuming he's doing as many games as possible. But maybe eventually becomes a thing like he's only broadcasting home games, and then maybe he's only broadcasting like certain days. So I think they're slowly going to try to lead him off. And I think the leading candidate right now to replace him is Sean Grande.
Yeah.
But
I remember that the whole the media response, the Twitter response to anybody but Mike Gorman was pretty negative. Like,
which is like, it's not really fair, because like Grande is fine. Like he's not Mike Gorman, but at the same time, like he's fine.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not going to complain about him. But yeah, the other guy, I can't think of his name, but the other guy
wasn't very good.
Yeah, especially when you have Scal leading a booth. It's nice to have some like veteran presence, because Scal leading a booth, sometimes it can not so great. He'll try and put all of his basketball expertise in there, which I feel like no one really wants to hear or cares to hear about.
Yeah, I think you're right. So let's talk a little bit about Paul Pierce. You know, like let's. Do you have a favorite memory? I know I saw on Instagram today, or it was Twitter maybe, and it like the NBA page was counting down his 5 best moments, and he never had that 5 best moments never had the play where he was talking. Who was it? Al Harrington on the Pacers.
Al Harrington.
Yeah, that play wasn't on there. Like the NBA, I think it was Instagram. The Instagram page said that his best play of his career was the bank shot he made for the Washington Wizards, where he called the game.
Oh yeah, was it like first round of playoffs or something like that?
Yeah, it was the first round of the playoffs. Like when and they got beat by the Hawks in like 6 games or something. I mean, he was on a pretty cool tear. Like he hit back-to-back game winners. One of them did get called off in that series, but I mean, like he was hooping, and he did make a game-winning shot in the playoffs, but that's not really like
and you're not going to remember for his non-Celtics moments.
No, you can't. Yeah, and you can't do that as his best play ever. Like, figure it out, NBA. Like, Paul Pierce is a Celtics legend. You know, like, yeah, he played in Brooklyn. Yeah, he played in Washington. Yeah, he played in LA. Like, I would much rather have that last 3-pointer that he hit with the Clippers in Boston as his best play over that shot in Washington, you know?
Yeah, I just think like it wasn't obviously like only one moment in the finals, but even just like him hoisting that finals MVP trophy, like that was such a culmination of just so many years of like so many bad teams. Like you mentioned the Al Harrington one. I believe that was the early 2000s. Like I think it was, can't remember exactly what year, but I know it was before I was watching basketball. I think it was like sometime 02 to 04.
Yeah, I was about to say 04.
They were fine during that stretch, and then they had quite a few rough years. Yeah. And those were the years I started watching. Well, the one year I really lucked out because he's his reflection on the TV, and he's very confused. But like I started watching, I think the first year I started watching was the Wally Szczerbiak year, which I believe was the year before they made the trade for the Big Three. And that team was not good by any means. No. I believe they still had I don't think they had Antoine anymore. But
I don't think so. Was that the first year that
no,
they drafted
they didn't.
Rondo?
What?
Was that the year they drafted? Was that the year they drafted Rondo?
I think they may have had Rondo that year, yes. And I think they had Al Jefferson was like their second best player, but like Zerbiak was their third. And Al Jefferson was like super young. So I mean he was a key piece in that the Kevin Garnett deal. But
yeah, I remember that was the first year for me as well. I remember hearing my dad and I, like, my dad would pick me up from school and or like pick me up from practice or something, and we would listen to like the first half of the game in the car on the radio, and we'd be just bitching the whole ride home of how poor the Celtics were playing. My dad doesn't like basketball either way, so he's just like, God, will you turn this off? And I'm like, no, man, I want to hear it. I want to do this. So that team is also my first like real memories of being a true fan of the Celtics. Like it was a long time.
I mean, it was like I think I was in like fifth grade that year, and I think that adds up. And then we kind of lucked in to just having Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, like one of the greatest teams of that era, just getting to watch them, and that was just obviously awesome. And Rondo, of course, and that was just awesome. So, and Paul Pierce will forever be like kind of that first childhood idol for at least the Celtics. Like obviously the Red Sox have had plenty of guys that maybe.
Right. I mean, like
are greater, obviously, like being more impactful in my childhood.
Manny and Poppy, even Pedroia to a degree, you know.
Yeah, even Pedroia. But like, that was like first.
Yeah, that first Celtics year. That's like that was before I started like really watching football too. So I had missed like the first couple Brady Super Bowls and things like that, and I wasn't. I mean, 2000. They won the first one in 2001. I was 3-4 years old by that time, like not watching football. So I started getting into like the Celtics, where I can vividly remember that, like listening to the Celtics on the ride home from practices and things like that, and after school things. And that was my real first like interjection into becoming a Boston sports fan. And Paul Pierce is really at the center of that. So it's cool to see, like I said at the opening of the show, I mean, Paul Pierce is probably, if not your favorite Celtic ever, probably top two, you know, like.
Yeah. He's definitely the most like impactful, I think, to like this era of Celtics basketball, like people growing up, like clearly he's the most impactful. Like obviously if Kevin Garnett, who is probably, you can easily argue he's the better player even when they're on the same team together, but like just Paul Pierce's impact like on the city, and like him being just that figure for so many years and being the star of the team for so many years. It's very like he was very impactful for people our age that grew up as Celtics fans.
No doubt. Yeah. It's cool to see him enshrined in basketball history and glory forever now. Right?
Yeah. And it's a fairly good class. Like it, obviously I'm surprised Weber it's taken this long to get in. And Ben Wallace, we talked about, which I think should have been in way long ago. He's literally one of the best defenders of all time. And then you have Chris Bosh, who clearly like during his peak, and he has all the accolades and the championships to back that up. So, pretty solid class. Glad to see him in there. Do you have any more? Oh,
I had a question. You know how like in baseball they do like a hat, or like a hat for the team that they choose, you know, like on their little placard or whatever. Do they do that in the NBA?
No, they don't do anything for that.
Okay. Because my question would be, do you think Chris Bosh chooses Miami or Toronto?
I think Miami do, just for the fame. Like I didn't really like Chris Bosh was fine. Like he got more individual accolades, but his real like his real stardom and his real like his Hall of Fame resume and his like top whatever player resume really started when he went to Miami. He was able to be the third best player on those Miami teams that won 2 titles.
Mm-hmm.
So that obviously helped a lot. Like Kevin Love really screwed the pooch, but I mean, you see what you can do even as the third option. Like it just is. It's a legacy booster. I mean, that's why people even today they talk about Big Shot Bob. Like he might have not been the best or second best player in any teams they ever played on, but he was always on those teams, always contributed to winning. He's just going to town on a shoebox right now.
I hear it. Yeah,
absolutely going to town on it. Kobe, can you chill out, buddy? You can do it. Just chill out a little bit. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah. I got a source for the Ben Simmons trade. I have a source that knows a source. And it's like a childhood friend of Ben Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
A childhood, like lifelong friend, grew up in Australia with Ben Simmons. He says that Ben Simmons is apparently going to the Blazers in exchange for CJ McCollum and picks. And the only thing being ironed out right now is what's going to be the pick compensation.
Wow.
So watch out for that.
Yeah, if that's true, then we need it credited here.
I mean, that one's not the wildest one though. Like it would be wild. Like that's the thing that sucks is like that was the one that I feel like's been talked about the most. Yeah. So it's like it wouldn't be that surprising, but I have a source that knows the source.
Well, so, let's get the episode out quick and let's give you the credit where it's due.
Yeah. If it comes true, of course. Let's hope that it does for our sake.
We can get out ahead of it, and if he does get traded in the next couple of days, and it's not the Blazers, I mean, the delete function is pretty quick, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Just pretending it didn't happen. Do you have any more basketball related stuff?
You touched on the fact that Chris Webber had taken a long time to get in, and it has to do obviously with the whole Michigan situation and the Fab Five taking money and that sort of thing. Do you know? I know that there was something like Chris Webber must have said that the Michigan AD apologized to him because there was big news that guy, whoever it was at Michigan, some exec was like, no, I didn't apologize to him. Like, do you know more of that about that situation? Because I don't. I would like to.
I haven't heard anything about that. Like, I know the Fab Five obviously. I didn't think that would affect his Hall of Fame stuff, though.
I mean, you see.
I thought it was just one
too, though. Like,
yeah, but basketball is different. Like basketball, the bar is pretty low.
Yeah.
Like I don't know another.
You think Jay Wright's not shelling out a few pennies to have some players come by?
I'm pretty sure Rick Pitino's in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
I think so too. Yeah.
He's gotten in trouble in like multiple places. No, I think Weber. What's weird though is like I have Reggie Miller as like this the baseline of like how hard it should be to get in the NBA Hall of Fame. I think Reggie Miller, he made like 7 or 8 All-Star teams, but he only made 2 All-NBA third teams. 2 All-NBA third teams.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's not really too impressive. Like, so I always look at that as a baseline. I'm pretty sure Chris Webber made like 3 or 4 All-NBA teams and made like an equal amount of All-Star games and really got gypped to have a championship because they were clearly the better team when they got gypped to have
in LA.
Was it the 2002 finals? 01-02 finals?
I'm not positive, but
one of those years.
I know it's like one of the biggest like conspiracies in NBA history.
Yeah, it's the Donahue where he's like, yeah, we intentionally threw the game because they wanted the Lakers in the final.
Right. Yeah, they intentionally threw game 6 and then we're a little bit
and game 7 happened, but
yeah, right.
But that's because I'm sure if the flow of the game was going in a way that would have favored the Kings, I'm sure they might have done the same thing in game 7.
Yeah.
But so that's obviously
an interesting look into and if you're a conspiracy guy like me, and a sports fan, it's a very, very fun little YouTube hole you could fall into about that series. So check that out if you're interested, and if you are a fan of Chris Webber, if you've watched the 30 for 30 on the Fab Five. I know that's one of my favorite 30 for 30s. And I just wanted to bring up last thing about this and about the Hall of Fame induction. I watched on my flight down to Florida last week. I watched the Malice in the Palace, the whatever just released on Netflix. And
I watched that one too.
it was super interesting because I always knew like, oh shit, Ron Artest is fucking fighting people in the stands, but like I didn't know that it was premeditated, and I'd never seen the footage of people just absolutely dumping popcorn and Coke and beers all over the Pacers players as they leave the arena. Like if that had if that had happened today, the entire city of Detroit would be arrested. Like
Yeah, I mean, it was.
Detroit would be playing with no fans for the entirety of a season if that happened today.
Yeah, and like they deserved it, and that's why like you see these fans, and it's like I think it's fair every once in a while just to put them in their place.
Yeah.
Our test went after the wrong guy. It was the guy staying beside them, which I'm sure you saw.
Mhm.
But either way, it's like if you, I mean, and then there was that guy that tried to fight Jermaine O'Neal and tried to act like he was a victim when he just like walked up to Jermaine O'Neal with his fists ready.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Like he's
And
out
it was
on
just-
the court just with a shit-eating grin on
And
his
he's literally just like this with his hands up, like ready to fight Jermaine O'Neal. Jermaine O'Neal was like, sure.
Yeah, sure, buddy.
Let's see how that goes. But that one was wild. No, that's just crazy. And it's like I see that every once in a while with like fans. Like I do think it'd be fine every once in a while, you know, just like if you could call out a specific fan, like you see him like trying to throw beer on people, they just get to like throw hands with someone on the team.
Yeah, or even if they're just like publicly shamed on the jumbotron or something, like
just like pegged with beer.
Boo this guy. Everybody in the whole arena boo this guy when you leave or when he gets escorted out. You know, like
yeah. But that one was a good. I like that one quite a bit. So transitioning away from basketball now.
Yeah.
Did you want to talk Red Sox real quick, or did you want to talk fantasy?
Sure. Let's talk Sox. They're blowing a 7-2 lead right now. I
saw that.
Yeah, they just gave up 6 runs in the 5th inning. That's great. The Sox last night. Have you been keeping up with the last series?
Not really. I am going to a game this upcoming Saturday, and it was supposed to be, I believe, the game that Sale was supposed to start. I think he's going to be out for that game as well. So that's just I don't know who we're getting for that instead. But
I'm unsure of the protocol with pitching because I know on Friday he tested positive and missed his start tomorrow. So
yeah,
he could, if he's throwing on Saturday, then he could be live. You know, I'm not positive. But a Sale game would be fun. Who's it against? Is it against Toronto?
I'm not quite sure. Honestly, didn't look.
I think they play Toronto. Oh no, they don't play Toronto.
Maybe it's Texas.
No, it's Seattle, isn't it? Or
I don't know, dude.
I think they play the White Sox and then Seattle. But by the week,
I think it's White Sox. I think now you say that, I think it's the White Sox.
They're playing the White Sox right now. I'm saying they.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know.
I don't know if the Seattle series will leak into the weekend or not. But
I don't feel like it's Seattle. I feel like it's another team. I can't think of it though.
Mm-hmm. Either way, the Sox are in the midst of a pretty wild card run right now. I know they're only a half game up on New York, who's only like a half game or a game and a half up on Toronto. And then behind them, I think Seattle and Oakland are maximum 3 games back from that second wild card spot. So it's going to be I think there are 18 games left after tonight. So you got to hope the Sox win at least. I think they're right now the Sox are 80-63. So 19 more games, including tonight. So you got to hope that's good math there, Maddie. I know what I'm talking about.
Proud of you.
Yep.
Colby grad right there.
Colby grad, baby. But I do think that they're probably going to lose tonight. I think it's the 6th inning and they're down by a run and they just had the wind taken out of their sails. I mean, so you got to hope that they win 12 or so games, get to 92 wins and make it hard for them to be passed for that first wild card spot. You do not want to play in New York. I would not want to play in Toronto for a wild card game. Toronto is far and away my favorite spot to watch a baseball game on TV. And I'll tell you why. Because that place is absolutely rocking every time that it's going on. Have you ever watched, like, you've seen
I remember like the Batista Blue Jays, like
yeah,
if
you
that's
remember
like
the
that
Batista,
era.
because if you go and look up that clip, the clip of that, it is absolute chaos. I love watching Rogers Center games, because when they do the live broadcasts and the just like the live feed of the game, the center field camera is just rattling. Like